Hello everyone, this is the Venus presentation, and if you've been keeping up, then you know what's going on. For those just joining, then I should probably warn you that all the information and photos that are on the presentation are from the internet, because it's a personal research project that I just happen to be posting to YouTube. So, it's research. Although I'd like to look at this stuff on my own, it's kind of hard to, if not impossible. So I looked stuff up, and I made these slides out of it. If you want to just go through see the slides, then go ahead. Otherwise, we're going to continue. Layers of Venus. Venus has a core that is similar to Earth's. Venus's core is cooled down at roughly the same rate as Earth's core, but is less active. Venus has a core that is mainly made of iron, nickel, and maybe some sulfur. Mantle. Venus's mantle is similar to Earth's mantle due to all the rocky planets high one. Venus's mantle is about 2,840 kilometers, 1,760 miles, thick, and is made out of similar materials Earth's mantle has. The crust of Venus is primarily made of silicate rocks and is almost entirely volcanic. Due to volcanic activity, Venus's surface is a mix of newer surface around 150 years old mixed with older surface or surfaces. Now on to the atmosphere of Venus. The atmosphere of Venus is mostly carbon dioxide. Because of the carbon dioxide, Venus's atmosphere has this greenhouse effect that makes it hotter than Mercury. Instead of water, Venus has clouds of sulfuric acid. The carbon dioxide behaves in a corrosive manner on the surface due to the heat and pressure. Along with that, sulfuric acid also acts in a corrosive manner. And then, if you want more information, here are some links that you could type into Google. Otherwise, I feel like most of you don't want to do that, so we're just going to continue. By the way, that was an accident. I work at Google Slides, okay? And I'm on a phone. So, that's why that happened. Okay. Anyhow, unique stuff about Venus. Volcanoes. Venus has the most volcanoes in the solar system. Most of these volcanoes are shield volcanoes. Shield volcanoes cover a lot of area, but they don't cover as much when it comes to height. A lot of the planet is covered in volcanic deposits that are around or less than 300 million years old. Retrograde rotation. Although Venus's orbit is still the same as the orbit of other planets, its rotation on its axis is different from all the other planets in the solar system, or the Uranus that also spins in what is called a retrograde rotation. A retrograde rotation is when a planet rotates in the opposite direction of most planets. In this case, we are talking about the rotation according to a planet's axis. Most planets rotate to the counterclockwise direction, while Venus and Uranus don't. And then I'll zoom in here. So you can see how Earth goes in counterclockwise, and then you can see how Venus goes clockwise. Again, sorry, I'm working on Google Slides and on a phone. Just bear with me here. How's planet? The mean surface temperature of Venus is around 867 degrees Fahrenheit, or 464 degrees Celsius, although it varies depending on the source you use. As said earlier, the greenhouse effect makes Venus hotter than Mercury and therefore the hottest planet in the solar system. Venus lacks a magnetic field of its own. Instead, It has an induced magnetic field. Turns out, Mercury also has one on top of its own. An induced magnetic field is caused by the interaction between the solar winds and the planet's outer atmosphere. Greenhouse effect. Like Earth, Venus has an atmosphere which holds in heat and allows for a greenhouse effect to take place. This is what makes Venus the hottest planet in the solar system, despite being the second planet from the Sun. Unlike Earth, Venus's atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide and is thicker than the atmosphere of Earth. And then you can kind of zoom in and see a photo if you want. Vertical electric field. Despite there not being much information on it, the European Space Agency's Venus Express satellite has found that Venus possibly has vertical electric field. This is created due to protons being pulled by Venus's gravity and electrons being connected to them. And then, it wasn't very clear, but it sounded like the electrons also escaped the protons. Because it sounds like they escape. You can look it up. There's only like one or two sources on it. You should be able to see. Hopefully you'd be able to find it. If you want to, of course. Anyhow, moving on to twin planets. Earth and Venus are called twin planets because of their similar size, mass, and composition. They formed in the same part of the solar system. They even formed at around the same time. Which makes scientists confused as to why they are so different. If I had to guess, it's something to do with their atmosphere. But I guess that's not what's making it confusing. Anyhow, here are some links you could type in. Otherwise, we're going to continue. Yes, I did include mythology in the presentation because it's cool and it kind of shows how people in the past saw the planets as. So I'm gonna keep the mythology section in the presentations. First off, we got the Greek goddess Aphrodite. Well, no, Aphrodite. There we go. Aphrodite is the Greek god of love and beauty. In some places, she is even honored as a goddess of war. Some of these places include Sparta, Thebes, and Cyprus. There are two versions of her birth. One is the seafoam birth that I'd rather not explain, while the other version is her being born from Zeus and Dione. It was normal to have multiple lovers at the time, so yes, the goddess Aphrodite had many lovers or partners. She had at least 16 children. Venus. Venus is a Roman god of love, beauty, and fertility. She also had many lovers and had the same stories as Aphrodite of how she was born. Venus is the patroness of gardens and vineyards. This was supposed to ensure bountiful harvests and flourishing of nature. Physical description of Venus. Venus's radius is about 6,051.8 kilometers or 3,760.4 miles. Venus's diameter is about 7,571 miles or 12,104 kilometers. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system. Venus's surface is mainly volcanic and basaltic. Venus has active volcanoes. Venus's gravity is 8.87 miles per second squared, or it's meters. I guess it's meters per second squared, because science uses, Venus's gravity is 8.87 meters per second squared. Venus's mass is 4.8673 times 10 to the 24th kilograms. Venus orbits the sun, obviously. Venus has a toxic atmosphere. Venus is about 0.72 astronomical units away from the sun. And if you're paying attention, you can see how that number changes each presentation about how far planets are from the sun. For those just joining in the project now, a sidereal day is relative to the stars, not our sun. Well, a solar day is relative to our sun, and not the other stars. And then it's easier to understand if you watch the other presentations. So, go check them out. Anyhow, the sidereal day is 243 Earth, or roughly 243 Earth days. And solar days roughly 170 Earth days on Venus. And Venus's year is roughly 225 Earth days. Future Venus. The future of Venus is the same as Mercury. Venus will have slight changes, although nothing major. Eventually, Venus will be engulfed by the sun as the sun becomes a red giant. And then here's some links. Again, you could look at. And then here's the first two are just photos of Venus. The third one to the right is basically just a recap of, or just basic information about Venus. Then I want to show you this one. So I went on a website and it showed like a map of Venus, because that's what I looked up. So you can see some of the major places, such as Aprone Terra being that white spot there, Tes Frigio, I'm assuming that white spot, Artemis Corona being there. You can just kind of see where it is. If that interests you at all, that's this last link down here. Go astronomy.com. Otherwise, that is the end of this presentation. The next presentation will obviously be Earth. And that was going to be really interesting, so please, if you're not going to watch anything else, please watch the Sun presentation and the Earth presentation. Because those two have the most information on them. And therefore, I think you're going to get more out of it than you would any of the other presentations. So if nothing else, go watch the Sun presentation. And then when the Earth presentation comes out, watch that. And then if you want to keep watching, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm glad you at least stuck for this presentation. Have a good day.